Hey, everybody, welcome to week 3. Week 2, that was a tough one, right? The idea about reading law and then trying to apply it on the different levels. I mean, the state telling the local telling all the schools, and having everybody understand what everybody else is doing. It's tough, okay? That's the challenge of having a federation, different levels of law. Now, what we're going to do today is dive a little bit more into that because those different levels all make up the judicial branch, okay? And so how they keep it together is by a concept called the rule of law. Okay, the rule of law, we were told you to learn that, as well as what is precedent. But before we go there, you're going to do a quick review over the last 2 weeks just to make sure that you're finding what you need. Now, of course, if you don't pass without missing more than a couple, retake it. You can take it as many times as you need to. Now, when we talk about jurisdiction, we're going to get into what area of authority do all of these bodies deal with? I mean, as a new driver, I used to wonder about all these different law enforcement, okay? And I'm sure you guys have seen this before when somebody is driving and a cop comes up behind them, then they are like really rigid, 10 and 2, making sure they use their turn signal all the time. But which one of those, law enforcement should you be concerned about? And the answer to that is pretty much all of them, okay? Because the city cops are dealing with everything inside the city, okay? The sheriff, everything inside the county, which includes the city, okay? And then you also have the Iowa, State Patrol, which back in the day I thought that was only the ones on those big roads like the interstates and whatnot. But believe it or not, one of our former alumni here with CB School said, "Hey, I can actually stop anybody anywhere inside the state of Iowa." So driving deals with federalism. Now let's talk about what else deals with federalism, okay? And so what you're going to do here, of course, the quick review, and then we're going to go through and talk to you a little bit about the judicial branch, what it is, okay? Now, out there in student resources, you will see a text if you want to know more or need to do some reading, okay? But this branch was set up by Article 3 of the Constitution, setting up just one court, the Supreme Court, and then gave Congress the power to create all the lower courts, okay, which we have quite a few of them. Now, of course, the Supreme Court is the top dog. They are the defenders of the Constitution. They are also the ones that try to establish a good rule of law, and we're going to get into that, okay? Some consistency, some fairness, okay? But as you guys can see, there are different avenues of getting to SCOTUS. As you guys can see here, you guys could, through the state courts, make it to the United States Supreme Court. That's SCOTUS, by the way. You could be dealing with a federal issue, like if you robbed a bank, and that would be dealing with federal courts, could take it to the Supreme Court. There's also some stuff dealing with diplomats, but not too many of us are going to deal with them. But anything dealing with foreign relations, that would be a federal level too, okay? Now here, you're going to go a little bit more in depth about jurisdiction, so make sure you read it because in the following, okay, which we're identifying exactly what jurisdictions you are in, you are going to basically be looking at the Iowa State one and getting to this example about Ewan Stanley, who is a Canadian citizen, and what exactly you guys did, which was naughty, and talk about who's got jurisdiction. And that's where you're going to identify here. Okay, so that's meant to be pretty fun. Okay, that's the idea. Then what's going to happen here is you guys are going to learn about judicial review and the idea that the top courts can actually review the actions of the lower courts in the interest of fairness, in the interest of consistency, being, the same for everybody. Because the rule of law is what keeps us where we are.
Thinks a law.
Okay? And so here's a couple examples, because what happens is laws get passed, like that gun law that we started off with last week, and then we have to take a look at how does that change per state, because not every state had the same gun, carry law. So how is that going to affect it? And so then we kind of keep going on. Here's 2 examples of how laws have been changed. And then we're going to go into the next one, which I'm going to help you with. So stay tuned.